Well, the holidays are here, and what is supposed to be the happiest, most joyous time of the year, for many of us turns into the most stressful, most agonizing, painful experience of the whole year for us. Unfortunately, for many people, the next 6 weeks is just really difficult. And so today's video, I'm going to give you 5 quick tips to help you navigate that holiday family stress, because I want you to get through this one a little bit better than you have in the past, because that's what it's about, is in being able to enjoy each other. And the main problem that I've seen that comes up in the holidays is really kind of a good thing. For the most part, everyone's trying to love the hell out of each other. You know, I mean, think about it. What are most of the fights about? That we're trying to do so much, and for the most part, we don't get recognized, or we do so much we get exhausted and we drain ourselves. At least that's been my experience. Is it the same for you? I mean, are you cooking, cleaning, buying presents, you know, helping out with charities and things like that, going to all these events and parties, trying to be present for your kids, make it the most special time of their life, the most special time for your partner, the most special time for your parents, grandparents, siblings, co-workers, and there are just a lot of expectations placed on us, and you get worn out. So that's what these 5 tips are going to focus on, is how to lighten the load. Now, please, always as a reminder, go to my online magazine site, www.thegreatnessuniversity.com, search stress. You're going to find a whole list of videos and articles that'll dive really deep into stress. So today is just, you know, a simple one that'll really, if you don't watch anything else, that's great, because this will really help you. But if you want to dive deeper and really take your stress levels down, go to my website, search all those articles and videos, and they'll really help you. If you happen to have one of those really stressful families, it's a great resource for you. So here's what I'm going to help you do. I'm going to help you say no. I know that's really difficult, the thought of saying no, and it's the holidays and we're supposed to do everything for everybody. So that's what we're going to start. 3 questions. This is what I encourage you to ask yourself before you ever say yes to anything, whether it's a holiday party, whether it's cooking, cleaning, buying a present, doing anything for anyone or any person, place, or thing. You want to ask yourself these 3 questions. First one is, will I keep score? In other words, you know how most fights are? We keep score. We go, well, I did this 4 times for you and you've only done that once, right? So if you think you're going to keep score, you need to say no. Question number 2, will I bring it up in the future or throw it back in their face? Again, think of the arguments we have. Once all this is over, we sit there and we yell at our family members, well, I did this, and I did this, and I did this, and it didn't even matter to you. You didn't even recognize it. You didn't even say anything. So what that means is, you know, we're bringing it up in the future, and we're throwing it in their face that we did these things for them. We want to make sure we don't do that. I'm going to get to why these are so important in just a minute, but that's question number 2. Will I bring it up in the future or throw it in their face? And question number 3 is, will I resent them if I do this? Those are the 3 questions. Will I keep score? Will I bring it up in the future and throw it in their face? Or will I have resentment? And here's why they're so key. Think of every single fight you've ever been in, every single relationship, why it broke up. Almost always, it's because we feel like we did more than we got in return. Well, what that means is, we did something that's called giving ourselves away. And isn't that an appropriate psychological term, considering it's the holidays and the idea is to give? But you know, we all have limits. We're not superhuman. There's only so much of ourselves we can give freely, where we won't keep score, where we won't have resentment, and we won't throw it in their face at a later time. We have a limit as to how far we can go. And after that, our reserves get depleted. We just don't have the reserves to do everything for everyone all the time. And that's okay. That's healthy. The idea, if anyone expects you, because you're family or you're my spouse or my partner, that you should always have my back and be able to give this to me, that is actually abusive, an abusive request. That doesn't take into account that we're all human and that certain days we might be able to do everything and anything you ask, but other days we have our own battles inside. And so what yesterday was a piece of cake for us to do, all of a sudden today seems like moving the whole earth on our shoulders. It's just too much, and it's okay that it's too much. We have to make sure that we are giving from a place that is free of any sort of retribution. And so do you see in all three of those, the resentment, the keeping score, and the bringing up in the future, we kept score. We threw it in their face. That means we didn't give freely. It actually means it was, and I hate to say this, I don't think this is a conscious attempt when people do this. They're not aware that they're doing this, but it's manipulative. We are being so kind and so giving because subconsciously underneath it all, our deepest thought, which I think for most people they're not even aware, they're like, if I do this, they'll love me. They'll give me more. They'll do stuff for me. It'll give me karma. Do you see? There's strings attached to it. They have an ulterior motive. And the proof of that is that they have resentment, they kept score, and they threw it in your face. And so think back to all of those times when you've said, we've all said it, look, I teach this stuff and I've said it too. Now, what saved me is I learned, oh, wait a minute, that's on me. I had depleted my reserves. I could no longer give freely, yet I still kept giving. But man, yeah, I was really upset when I didn't get it in return. Shoot, that means I shouldn't have given it. That's on me. I gave myself away, and now I'm expecting them to rescue me. Well, it's not their job. That's my job. It's always my responsibility to make sure I don't go too far in my giving and taking and giving care to other people. If I overextend myself, it's not their problem. They didn't do that. Nobody ever makes us. We choose. Now, a lot of people will blame, well, they were going to be upset if I didn't do it. Well, okay. I don't disagree. They might have been upset. And they might have tried to manipulate you or said things to try and make you feel guilty or whatever. But we get to decide if we're going to let them make us feel guilty. If we're going to let them make us feel bad, we get to choose that. They don't ever make us. We allow someone sitting there playing that manipulative game. We can always go, I hear that you want me to feel guilty, but I'm okay with it. I didn't have the reserves to do that for you yesterday. And for me personally, I'd much rather say no to you than to have said yes and then a couple days later scream and yell at you because I gave myself away. I don't want to treat you that way. I love you. And that's why I'm not going to play that game of doing so much and then telling you later how much I did for you. I'm just going to say no. Now, here are the next two questions. This is because for many people, they're so scared of two things: confrontation. They just don't want to confront somebody because, let's face it, a lot of our family members, they make us pay if we don't give ourselves away and do everything they want. So I can appreciate how scary it would be to confront them. And the second thing is guilt. They feel because they've been trained to do everything for everybody else, they were also sent the message that they're selfish and it's unkind, that they should, we have this, like I talk about all the time, this unwritten message, we're always supposed to take care of everybody else and do everything for family and friends. And if you don't, you're selfish. And that's just not true. Remember, we have to satisfy those questions. If we go past that, then we're actually being selfish because we're going to throw it in their face. And that means we're doing this to get our own needs met because we expect something in return. So do you see, when we overgive, when we give ourselves away, that's when we become selfish and rude. And that's when we do all the things they're accusing us of. Saying no, we're not doing that. That's when we're loving them. So for those people that are afraid of confrontation and feel guilt, these are the two magic questions. When the request comes in, my suggestion to you is this: pause and go, let me think about it and I'll get back to you. In other words, don't say yes, don't say no, because you're probably too afraid to say no, and that buys you time. It buys you time to go off and ask yourself, wait a minute, am I going to keep score? Will I bring it up in the future and throw it in their face, or will I have resentment? Let me think about it. Actually, I will. shoot, I need to say no. It allows you that space. It takes you out of the confrontation part of it. So you can gather yourself. You can call a friend who you've watched this video with and say, look, I need your support here. I'm going to stand up for myself. I need you to hold me accountable and be on my side and let me know that I'm doing the right thing. It gives you a chance to reach out to your community, get support, get the strength to be able to lovingly say no so that you aren't selfish and hurtful. So then we get to the fifth tip here, which is how to say no. And the way to do that is don't say no at all. Instead say, I've thought about it and it just doesn't work for me. Do you see, I call both of these the two magic phrases. Let me think about it and I'll get back to you. And the second magic phrase is, I've thought about it and it just doesn't work for me. The reason those are both magic is neither one of those can the person argue with. If they say, what do you mean, get back to me? You just say, yeah, I need some time. I'll get back to you. You don't have to explain yourself. No matter what they throw at you, you can repeat that exact same thing. Yeah, I just need to think about it. But why? I need to know now. I hear that you need to know now, but I just need to think about it. I'll get back to you. But why? Well, because I need to think about it and get back to you. But that's crazy. Like, why do you need to think? Why won't you tell me? Well, because I need to think about it and I'll get back to you. Do you see? It doesn't matter how they attack us, those confronters. We just repeat it over and over. That's why it's magic. We're not a child. I don't have to explain myself to you. I just need time to think about it. And that's a good enough reason. And so that's why we use it, and that's why it's magic. The same thing with our response. I've just thought about it. It doesn't work for me. Well, that's selfish. Well, thanks for sharing your thoughts and feelings. Geez, you're rude. It's the holidays. You're not going to support me? I thought you loved me. I can hear that you're really upset and concerned that I don't love you. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and feelings. Man, you're weird. What's gotten into you? Why won't you do it? Well, because it just doesn't work for me. Well, what about it doesn't work for you? It just doesn't work for me. Well, aren't you going to tell me what part of it doesn't work for you? Well, yes, it just doesn't work for me. Do you see, again, you just repeat it. You don't have to explain it. You just use the mantra over and over. That's how you protect yourself. And you're really protecting them. That's what I really want you to get across. Get across through this video. Is these 5 tips help you protect your family members or those people that it's difficult for you to say no to. Because remember, if we say yes and we resent them, throw it in their face, or keep score, then we're being selfish and rude. We're beating them over the head for something that was our responsibility. We should have said no, but we didn't. So it's not fair to them for us to do it and then blame them that we did it. They shouldn't have to take our blame. And so we're loving them and protecting them. And can you see how the stress would go down? So my encouragement to you is think through the normal things you do in this holiday season and try and pick, if you can, one thing a day that you will use this with, that you no longer do. If you can't, if that's too much, one thing a week. And if that's too much, just one thing this holiday season. Use that formula. Just back off. Give yourself a little bit of space. And remember, every time you think you're being rude or selfish, remind yourself, wait a minute. Look at how the inner resentment that you carried, and so when they sat across from you at Christmas dinner and you wouldn't even talk to them because you're so angry, is that loving? Yes, you did all these things for them, but you can't even look them in the eye. And all night you're talking behind their back. Is that really loving? It's not. So remind yourself, actually, when I do that, when I do so much for them, that's when I'm selfish. I'm actually being rude because now I'm creating distance and a wall and I'm blaming them. That's not kind and loving during the holiday season. So the most loving thing I can say to them is, I love you, but it just doesn't work for me. So give that a try. Leave me your comments. Let me know who you say that to and how this helps you this holiday season. And as always, enjoy the journey.